Welcome back, guys, to CFL Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. So this video is going to be a little bit different. I actually just got back from Toronto and Hamilton, as you saw. So I was on vacation. I actually saw 2 games this week. I saw the Bombers and Stampeders, and then flew to Toronto, drove to Hamilton the next day to see the Red Blacks and the Ticats. So yeah, it was a fun week. And but this video is sponsored, so take it away, Jake.
The only way that you can get ahead in sports betting is finding the best wagers to fit the bet you want to make. It's going through hours of finding all the websites, going through it, making an account, and figuring out which site has the best odds for the bet that you want to make. And that is something that people just do not have the time of the day to do. And that is why our friends at BetStamp have combined all of the services that you need to make the best sporting bets that you want to make on their amazing app. What BetStamp does is combine all of the margins for what the bets that you want to make from all the betting websites in one easy location. You can find anything you want to bet. It shows you all the money lines you're ever going to need, all the margins that will help you win the most money on the bet you want to make, which basically, let's be real, is the most important thing when you're sports betting. Whether you're brand new to sports betting or you've all been doing it for years, you all know that the money line, how much you're going to get, is all that matters. You want to be able to get the bang for your buck, and that is exactly what BetStamp does. It combines all the data from all other betting websites in one place for you to find the best margins to make all that money you want to make.
So thanks to our partners at BetStamp for this amazing opportunity, and make sure you guys use the referral code CFL Central with no spaces to help us out. Helps out the channel a ton, and lets them know that you are interested in that CFL content, and lets us know that as well. So yeah, going into our first game of the week, we are going to start with the Edmonton Elks versus the Montreal Alouettes. This is a game where I thought it was going to be a lot closer. Jake didn't think so. However, it seemed I was right with this one, so I got one up on Jake on this. However, what I didn't expect is the Elks to come victorious in this game. So Montreal has... I don't find that Montreal has been doing impressively great or whatever. It's mainly just that they have been the best out of a really bad performance from the Eastern Conference this year, or division, or whatever you want to call it. And the Elks just, they showed up as much as they really needed to. I think the Elks, on paper and mostly in practice, are probably the worst team in the CFL. I say that even with a 0-5 Red Blacks next to me. I think the Red Blacks have probably gotten the most bad luck in the CFL. I know not everyone would agree with me, but I think that's the case in terms of injuries, as well as just a mess in terms of team chemistry. It's just not worked the way they needed to. But this is going to be this has got to be a good one for Elks fans to get. However, Edmonton still yet to win at home as the Elks, so obviously they're going to be wanting to get a win at home. But getting wins to rack up to build up that confidence in the team is important. So let's hear from Jake.
This Edmonton-Montreal game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, and it was actually pretty entertaining because, like I've said, Montreal this year, they're good. They just can't catch a break. Like, the Elks are a bad team. They are the worst team in the CFL, arguably, without a doubt. Even though this game was very entertaining, Montreal, again, choking a lead. It's just sad at this point, guys, because Montreal, they've had so much bad luck. They've had so many blown games, the field goal against Toronto, the list goes on, and this is just another prime example of Montreal this year just not being able to get things done. You have 21 points scored in the second half of this game, and 0 points scored in the fourth when the Edmonton Elks put 14 on you to come back and win this game by 1. And that's exactly why you lost. You don't have to go into stats. You don't have to go into play-by-play. You lost because you couldn't finish the deal. And we've seen this time and time again with the Alouettes, and it's starting to become a pattern, and I think that it's going to be a pattern that most likely sticks with this club this season. They just cannot seem to catch a break. Are they terrible? Probably not. But there's just something going on right now with around the Alouettes where all the bad luck in the CFL seems to just be siphoned right into the Montreal Alouettes organization. It is a very sad sight to see, especially when you go and you look at their games. They lose 41-20 in Week 4 against Saskatchewan. Then they are able to beat Saskatchewan the week prior in Week 3, 37-13. Then you go back to Week 2, 1-point loss to the Toronto Argonauts, 2019. Your Week 1, 30-27 loss to Calgary. Your Week preseason week 2, even 27-26 victory. So even then, that being a very close game against the Red Blacks, this is just a team that has had no luck this year. And the Elks finally were able to put a decent string of quarters together, get some offense going, and that's all you can ask for if you're the Alouettes and if you're the Elks, as a fan at this point, because what else do you have to root for? So, Cornelius came in, he was 61%, 19 for 31, wasn't incredible, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, his longest ball being a 38-yarder, but it got them the win. They came back when it mattered, and I really think you have to give a lot of credit to Kenny Lawler, who had a great touchdown, 92 yards receiving, 13 attempts, 7 for 13 on the attempts. He had a really good game, and the Elks were able to come back as a team and put the Alouettes to bed again in a dramatic finish. That really sucks if you're an Alouettes fan, but if you're an Elks fan, I bet it was feeling pretty good. Only downside to this game, attendance being 16,000, that's got to get up. Next game is going to be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, which was, again, another great game. You had the game of the year last week in week 5 where BC was favored to win in BC. Bombers come in, shit kick them 43-22. I was at that game. It was a dominant performance by the back-to-back Grey Cup champions. And this week, you go into Calgary is in Winnipeg, I should say, and you're playing the only other left undefeated team in the CFL right now. And everyone's thinking, this is going to be a good game, and it was a great game. But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, with some luck on their side and some very, very dramatic fourth quarter antics, they are able to win this game by a score of 26-19. And again, this was a game that could have went either way. Like, this was in Calgary's favor to win this game at times, but Winnipeg just is this group of guys that has been through so much. And even though they haven't lost a lot since obviously going on this Grey Cup run with these back-to-back wins, they still just somehow find a way to power through any adversity in a game and get the W, and they remain undefeated, without a doubt the unanimous #1 team in the CFL, again, 3 years running. It is just amazing when you watch this team right now play. Like we thought at the start of the year that, oh my god, they're having a lot of antics, they're having a lot of problems right now. Maybe they're not going to be as good to start this year, or they'll get better as time went on. They have gotten better every game that they've played this season, and won every game at the same time, even though they haven't deserved to win all of them. And that is a team, that is a championship group. That is something you compare to Michael Jordan and the Bulls, even that mentality. The Bombers have just seemed to have this winning mentality, and they are not letting it go no matter what happens in a game, no matter what the score is, how much they're down. They're going to win that game in their minds, and they've been doing it on the field this year. And the Calgary, they played a great game too, and this was a great matchup, and I really hope that this is the West Final this year. I think Calgary is a very hungry dog this year. They want to get back on Climb the Mountain. They've had some issues in the playoffs lately, but they are going to be hungry this year, and they've already been showing it this year. And this was a great game, but Winnipeg just an absolute dominant performance.
So yeah, as Jake just said there, it was quite the game between the Stampeders and the Bombers, and really the standout performance here has got to be Carlton Agadosi. With his first game as a Bomber, we're talking about a guy who formerly played in the XFL in 2020, as well as a former Philadelphia Eagle. The Bombers really utilized him to the fullest potential, and it was really nice to see the Bombers expand their options when it comes to the receiving core. Obviously, they will occasionally throw to guys like Wolotarski and Bailey, not as much as they did last season, but having more of those options, so that way when Ellingson and Agadosi are playing, so that way you're keeping that defense guessing, is really, really important, and the Bombers really used that to the fullest potential. Ellingson had a really solid game, as well as Agadosi, and the Stampeders put up quite a fight here. A bit more of a fight than the BC Lions did. Not at the fault of the BC Lions offense, mainly just the defense of the Lions could not compete with the Bombers offense, and there was Nathan Rourke tried everything he could against that Bomber defense, but the Bombers defense did not give him an inch. Bombers defense with some massive defensive plays in this game, and the Bombers would get the win.
Saskatchewan versus Toronto. Man, this game was a little ugly at times, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was a little surprised that Toronto actually came away with this win. I wasn't expecting it. I thought the Riders would, but nonetheless, I was wrong. It happens to be a lot. Toronto putting up 17 points in the second, the most points in that game. And honestly, this is what won them the game, really, is that quarter. They were able to really kind of come up after putting up nothing, being down 4-0 at the end of the first quarter. They get they're still down, obviously, but, this was a game that it was just really fun to watch at times. Even though it was ugly, there was a lot of good momentum, the good plays back and forth, and I don't even remember what I had in this prediction. I think I took Saskatchewan, but I can't even remember. But, Bethel Thompson stayed kind of mediocre at that 70% range. This was one of his better games, but it still wasn't anything spectacular out of the guy. I still think that Toronto is kind of selling themselves short at the quarterback position, and not to mention the fact that attendance of only 10,000 on a Saturday night in Toronto. Obviously, I know the Argonauts aren't a big draw in that city, but it's definitely concerning to see 10,000 compared to what the capacity of that stadium is. You definitely have to get that up if you're the Argonauts, because this was a game that was fun and you won and had 10,000 fans in the stands on a Saturday night, and it's obviously not going to cut it. Andrew Harris in this game was okay as well, but Cody Fujardo I actually kind of thought was, mediocre as hell in this game with three interceptions, for 2 touchdowns. It's just something that he's had a lot this year, interceptions at times, and I don't know if it's going to be a problem for the Riders long term, but I think the Riders have been really inconsistent at times this season. And this was a game, again, with some inconsistencies. They need to battle in the third and set a momentum coming out of that half, and they don't do anything. They put up 0 points. They put up only 3 points, and you'd be thinking, okay, you got to do more than that. And it just wasn't enough to get the win at the end. It was close, but it just really came down to the fact that in the second quarter, they allowed the Saskatchewan to, they just couldn't play the right game, honestly, and it sucks. But you know what? At the same time, these are two teams with a lot of issues. They're trying to figure out their identity still, and I think that we will see better matchups as the season goes on from both these teams. But maybe this is at week 6 we can finally start to judge what these teams are going to look like. And I really feel like middle pack teams are going to be the Argonauts and Riders this year in both respective conferences.
So yeah, as you just heard from Jake there, this was quite the game. Now, one of the things I think Jake did forget about this game is this was Touchdown Atlantic. Saskatchewan and Toronto playing on the East Coast over in Nova Scotia. And it was nice to see, 10,000 fans going to that game. It was nice to see it. You could see a lot of the team cultures going there. The melon heads in Saskatchewan coming around. And overall, it was an interesting game to see. Interesting seeing football really along the East Coast there as Atlantic hopes to eventually get a team. However, I think a few things need to happen in order for that to come to fruition. I thought the Riders would get this year. However, the Toronto Argonauts, despite having that clearly divided locker room to a certain extent, are able to pull it out. And you know what? I feel like this is just it's great seeing the CFL do that testing ground of having games there and trying to get the fans interested in CFL football, because if you get fan interest in an area, you can get ownership interested, and then that's when you can really make things happen. So I can see that's what the CFL is trying to do in this game. And you know what? It was a little sloppy at times. However, I think this accomplished their goal. But with our final game of the week, we have the Ottawa Red Blacks versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats in Hamilton, which I was at. I was at this game. I got this hat and that flag there, as these flags are not... The Ticats are like the only one I can't find on Amazon. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But regardless, I mainly just kind of want to talk about a little bit more of my experience. I have my own full video covering this on my first Ticats game on my own channel, the On Hockey Podcast. You can go check that out. But it was interesting seeing the ways that the stadium and just the way everything works there is a bit different. So first off, you park on someone's front lawn to see the game. That was kind of humorous. I didn't know that was a thing. I guess it is, but it's really kind of crazy to see how ingrained the Ticats are in their community. And I mean that in every sense of the word, as the stadium is literally in the middle of a residential area. It looks like a very odd place for a stadium. However, it's really exciting seeing how passionate everyone is about their team. And I gotta say, some of the nicest people I've met. They're just, the people there are absolutely wonderful. Even after hearing I'm a Bomber fan, I wasn't thrown out of the building. So you know what? Even with two straight seasons of kicking their tushes in the Grey Cup final, they're still willing to welcome us into their stadium. And honestly, no matter how the game was, I was going to enjoy it. And it was nice to see the Ticats do get their first win. The bad luck continues for the Red Blacks. And yeah, let's hear from Jake.
The final game of Week 6 came down to the Ottawa Redblacks and the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Like you've already heard from Carter, he was at this game, flew from Winnipeg, had a great time. I believe it was his first Hamilton game as well, being in that stadium. And I'm glad that Hamilton won, because when you're a fan of the CFL and you travel to a new team's building you've never been into before, you've got nothing riding on the game, I would obviously want the home team to win too. And especially over the Redblacks, because Hamilton, I think, they're not that bad. They have some issues, but Ottawa obviously has a lot more issues. And this was a fun game, I'm not going to lie. Obviously, Carter had a lot more to say to it than I do, because being in the stands, getting to experience it, I haven't even been to Hamilton before, so, I would have loved to check out this game one day too, and check out that stadium and the awesome fans out there, but I bet it was a great game. I actually didn't end up watching a lot of it. I saw the highlights reel and read the box score, but really, this is the kind of what I kind of expected in this game, because both of these teams have had a lot of problems, and if Hamilton lost this game, then that would be a massive yikes, but they didn't. They were able to, it was close, don't get me wrong, but they won the game. That's all that matters, and at the end of the day, Ottawa's still going to have a lot of issues at quarterback. When you look at the box score, and it speaks for itself. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, Dane Evans was 75%, 21 for 28, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, the longest throw of the game being 51, and then Caleb Evans on the passing side for the Redblacks, 18 for 30, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, his longest throw being 50, 60% completion on the night. That's just not going to get it done when you have actually Dane Evans playing a decent game of football, going 75% on the completion rate, with 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Obviously, those 2 interceptions killed the Redblacks at times, and that's basically what it came down to, in my opinion, was you had a better quarterback playing against a weaker team right now that's had a lot of issues and is missing their star quarterback in Mazzoli, and will be for a long time. 20,000 in attendance for this one, a great game. I bet Carter had a great time, but yeah, a pretty fun game, and I'm pretty sure that I had the Ticats in this one, so I'm pretty sure it went my way.
That's correct, Jake. It went your way, it went my way, it went Hamilton's way as they got their first win, as we said. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I know it was a little more untraditional, and the preview is going to be like that as well. However, going forward, it's going to be a lot more traditional. Sorry for a little bit of a modge podge of clips to get this going through, but I hope you guys did enjoy this video regardless, and I'll see you guys next time.